better daily, where we work hard in our minds, bodies, and our spirits to become 1% better every single day. Download the app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live to catch the video version of these podcasts. Here's your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Wednesday. It's Wild Wednesday, which means you never know what we're going to do. And today I'm very excited. Oh no, almost lost my camera. See, it is Wild Wednesday. Yikes. Wait, there we go. Morning, KT. Good to see you this morning. Ah, there it is. That's the right stuff. That's the right stuff. Okay. That was funny. I really almost lost it there. So today I'm very excited to share with you an interview that I did, I want to say November of last year, 2021, not that terribly long ago. It was published on a podcast called the Husband Material Podcast. And the Husband Material Podcast it's an awesome podcast for Christian men who are working toward becoming husband material, whether you're married or not. It's about being the guy worth being married to. That might be the best way to put it. But it's a really, really cool podcast because they have lots of experts on the show. They talk about things like adverse childhood events. They talk about things like working through traumatic memories. They talk about plotting a good way forward. They talk about intimacy and relationships. And Drew had me on his show, like I said, probably about 6 months. Wow, is it 6 months already? 6 months ago. To talk through how we build our bodies well. And it was a two-part episode. The first episode we went through motivation, which you guys are really used to from me here. So I thought I'd share the second episode of that series. And in part two, what we did is we took the initial conversation and then I went live with him in his online community and answered questions as they came. So he kind of moderated that and we dealt with questions, and they were really good questions. They were questions that people ask me very frequently in things like consultations or one-on-one training sessions and whatnot. And so they dug a lot of good stuff out of me by asking good questions, and I wanted to share that with you. So I'm going to paste that link here in this live. I think one of the things that I really like about this episode and this conversation specifically is that this community is not this community, the husband material community. The husband material community it's a good place for people to be who are overcoming very difficult things, specifically sexual addiction. And the questions that came out of guys who are wrestling with mind and spirit problems, the questions that came out of them with regard to their physical body was profound and helpful and telling. So we talk about supplements, we talk about bioindividuality, we talk about when you look in the mirror, what do you see? How do you keep this from being a vanity thing? And well, I really like that. One thing that they dug out of me that I hadn't said before, I hadn't articulated it before, is we were talking through, you know, how easy it is to fall into the fitness trap, meaning like, why are you working out? And people will often say something like, I want to gain muscle and lose fat. Some braver individuals might say, I want to look good naked, right? So when I look in the mirror, I can be proud of who I see. I can be proud of the body that I built. And something about that never really quite resonated with me. I work out on a regular basis. I lift weights and I run, as you guys know. And the Lift 100 and the Run 100, those are both ongoing challenges, which if you're not a part of them, please, even though it's the middle of the year, please join us. You can join on my number. I think I'm on 26 for my runs and 29 for my lifts. You can join on my number. You can be like, all right, I'm taking Alex up on his offer. I'm joining the Lift 100 and the Run 100, and I'm going to lift. It equals out to about twice per week. I'm going to lift twice per week and track that number. And I'm going to run twice per week and track that number. And I'm going to report it to our community. You should do it. I think it's awesome. But I do that regularly, right? This is a part of my personal program. And it's been a part of who I am and what I do for for a long time now. I've been lifting consistently since I was about 16 years old, and running consistently even before that. And it's been a powerful part of what I do, but I've never been motivated by being proud of the guy I see in the mirror. It's never been a very motivating thing to me. I know for some people it might be, but I wondered why. Like, am I different from my clients? Is that a thing? And in this episode, I articulated differently because we were talking through this vanity play, and what I said was something along the lines of, and I've thought about it since then too. I'm not that different from most of the people that I work with. I don't think that what we want is to look in the mirror and be proud of ourselves. Not like, oh, look at me, I've got a six-pack, or oh, look at my muscles, or oh, look at that guy, he's so attractive. Oh, look at that lady, she looks great in a bikini. I don't think that that is what the betterment journey is pursuing. I really don't think so. What I think instead it's pursuing is that when we look in the mirror, when that person staring back at us meets our gaze, I think what we're pursuing is a sense of peace. It's a peace that comes from knowing that we're showing up well today, knowing that we've fed ourselves well in the previous weeks, that we're moving well, that we're on a path toward betterment, and that our outside reflects what's happening on the inside. There's a sense of peace when we look in the mirror that we're being a good steward of the hand we've been dealt, that we're taking the gifts we've been given and making the most of those things. And you could say to the person in the mirror, you can say to that guy staring back at you, keep up the good work, man. As opposed to looking in the mirror, meeting that person's gaze and seeing, wow, I'm sucking this thing up. What is wrong with me? Why am I not doing what I say I'm going to do? Why am I not doing the things I know I should? And I think that's the difference. I think the vast majority of us who are pursuing betterment in our physical bodies, who are working hard to eat well, we're working hard to exercise well, working hard to get enough rest, making sure we get enough vitamins and minerals and all that stuff. When we look in the mirror, what we want to feel is peace. So they dug that out of me in this interview. I think how we got there was important and good. Me replaying it here isn't me trying to articulate it to you here. It's helpful, but it's not the same. So I would encourage you to listen to that and check that out. I'd love to hear from you. Do you feel like you want to be proud of who you see in the mirror, or is it more a pursuit of peace? And are you at peace when you look in the mirror? Do you know that guy or that gal is doing what it takes, is doing what they're capable of, is playing the best game with the hand they've been dealt? Guys, this has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Thank you for joining me on Wild Wednesday. Tomorrow is Word Thursday, and I can't wait to share that word with you. Until then, it's just 1%. You got this.
You have something that you call the Better Daily approach. So what is that?
The 1% Better Daily approach is more of a belief system than it is a exercise program or fitness program, right? And I don't mean a belief system to supersede our Christian understanding. What I mean to say is that when we approach our health and fitness, it is much more sustainable. It will lead to much healthier outcomes and is much more likely to make you happy with the outcomes to approach your health and fitness journey with a 1% better mentality. Right. And this isn't new. This is actually, the ancient version of it actually comes from the Japanese word kaizen, which means constant improvement, right? Incremental progress, the small amount that we can change for the better. And so, let's take an example. Somebody might say, what should I eat to lose fat and gain muscle, right? Isn't that like most people's fitness goal? I want to lose some fat and gain some muscle. Sweet. All right. So not to put you in a box, but the vast majority of individuals I've ever worked with, they're that's wrapped up in there somewhere, right? So they say, okay, what should I eat? Well, I could say, all right, how old are you? How much do you weigh? How tall are you? How often do you work out? All right, here's macronutrient recommendations based on sports science. Good luck with that, right? You're like, okay. And so now you work really hard to try to eat a certain amount of protein from who knows what, and eat a certain amount of fat, and eat a certain amount of carbohydrates. And it's really hard. It's really hard to do that. It's a fun exercise to try if you like to experiment and you have the time. but I often work with parents and we don't have time for that. We just don't. But if you were to, let's say, become aware of what you're doing, let's say instead of starting there, we say, hey, for the next week, keep a food journal. Just write down everything you eat. I don't care how much. I don't care what it is. No judgment. Just write it down. And so you start becoming aware of what your day-to-day looks like. And then now that you have a starting point of what your day-to-day looks like, and maybe some habits that you're involved in, and maybe some foods you didn't know you were eating so much of, or maybe, wow, I had no idea there was that much sugar in that, right? When you start becoming aware of these things, then you can set your sights on, okay, how could we make this a little better? How can I improve this for the better? And I mean, it might be something so small as like, instead of that for breakfast, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that for some weeks, right? And I'm going to let my body appreciate the newness, appreciate the nutrition I'm getting in my face, and go from there. And similarly with exercise, right? Like somebody might hear our previous podcast, and this wasn't my intent, but hear our previous podcast and go, man, I need to exercise. Let's do this thing. And they're like Googling like 5-day-a-week workout programs, and they go from nothing to all of it, all of the exercise, right? To build the temple and become the burning bush. But the 1% better daily approach is a little less intense than that. It's like, all right, where are we starting? What's something we can add to that process to be better? So it might be a couple days a week of cardiovascular exercise. It might be, hey, you've gotten all of 2,000 steps a day for the last year of your life. Let's go for a walk, man. 30-minute walk every day. That's all we're gonna bite off right now. And the reason, there's a number of reasons for it, but the primary reason in my world is health and fitness is a journey. It's not a destination. You don't get there, right? This, I hope, is a sustainable lifestyle that's good for you and good for your family, and integrated into the things that you're already doing in life, and maybe even making those things better. And so that's the 1% better daily approach, is where are we? What do we know that we want to improve? And where can we get started? And to do that thing, to live out our intention, see how it goes, and then add to that as we're able.
Man, that sounds so empowering. The first approach you described of getting this huge plan and trying to fulfill all the requirements feels so disempowering. It's like somebody else has the answers and I'm going to try to get a really good test score, rather than you coming alongside a bio individual and giving them the pen to write in their journal and giving them decision-making power, and together collaborating on something small and doable and really a lot more exciting.
Right. And I hope when I realized this when I was a few years into training, we would try to, and I say we, the training community, we would try to like drill down on these really specific goals. You want to lose weight? How much weight? Okay, 30 pounds. 30 pounds of weight. How much of that is fat? Do you care if you gain 5 pounds of muscle? Like, really drill down on these things, and like, how long do you want this to take? Oh, like 3 months. As if you can guarantee how somebody's body is going to respond, and whether or not their parents are going to get sick in the middle of this whole endeavor or whatever, right? So we would do this thing, and what I realized is it never works. Like, the best laid plans of mice and men, even if all the math adds up and whatnot, what works is when you ask somebody, imagine yourself a year from now. Best case scenario. Imagine yourself a year from now, and all the things that you know that you should be doing, you start doing. All the bad habits that are getting better of you, you stop. What's the best case scenario a year from now? And when you start thinking like that, it seems a long way away because you'd like to see the results now. But when you start thinking like that and you can start moving toward that thing, the next year you get to ask the same thing. And it's a constant progressive and positive process, which is, in my world, something that's worthwhile rather than something short term.
Absolutely. And 1% better each day over an entire year. would be absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, that would be 365% better?
Well, actually, the way the math adds up, it's actually even more than that. The way because you take 1% of one. I'm not a compounding accountant here, but the idea though being that you will not recognize yourself year over year. Not necessarily you don't look the same in the mirror. I mean to say, you look back at the way that guy was eating, you look at the way that guy was or wasn't exercising, or what he could or couldn't do, or how he was sleeping, or what his energy levels look like, or what kind of pants he was wearing, and you're like, man, who was that dude? Oh well. Moving on.
Yeah, the principle here seems to be that consistency is compounding, and small, intentional, little micro changes don't just add up over time, they multiply.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some of the small little changes that we can make in our minds, in our bodies, realizing that this is very connected to our sexuality. And growing healthier physically, healthier emotionally, healthier mentally is going to have implications on our sexual health and our sexual integrity as well. I want to start with this question from Arthur here on the live event, who's asking, how do you manage or schedule time to work out when you have young children or other responsibilities in your day?
Such a good question. I'm living that right now. I've got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I'm in the young kid world, right? The reality is, part of it is that you have to be willing, and you have to give yourself the grace to lay out the plan and make the space, but every once in a while know that that's not going to happen the way you planned, right? So give you, for instance, a week ago, I had a 1-hour workout plan that I was very excited about, and well, babysitter fell through, childcare fell through, my wife had something that she needed to do. I was like, oh man, my hour workout's not going to happen. So I've got my 2-year-old toddling around in the garage gym with me, and the best I can do is 5 sets of deadlifts and 5 sets of pull-ups. 10 sets of work, took 12 minutes, but I got it wasn't the workout, but it was part of it, and that was okay, and that was good, right? So part of it is you have to make the plan, and you have to be like, this is non-negotiable. I am going to do what I'm able to do, and this might actually encourage you. The studies are very clear. 3 to 5 minutes even of exercise can be a very powerful stimulus for the body, even if that's all you have time for. And I'm sorry, most of us have 3 to 5 minutes. We just do. Like, good. Open your screen time app on your phone. I promise you have plenty of time that to make this happen. I'm not saying maybe you have an hour and a half every time, but even if all you can do is some squats and some push-ups, man, great. Or maybe if all you can do is go outside and walk the hill 12 times in front of work real quick, and then pop back in. Just knowing that there's a default exercise that you can default to and say, hey, I don't have time for the big kit and caboodle right now, but I do have this time that I'm going to devote to that, right? And then the second would be, hey, when you have young kids, that's such a blessing. You're never going to be more active than you are right now. Like those little boogers, they have so much energy. I mean, not every kid's like my kids, but my kids are like border collies, man. If you don't work them out, they're gonna eat your couch or something. They're gonna find something to do. So you can incorporate that. Go jump around in the front yard, take them around the block with you, go for a hike, and I'm not gonna say that hiking is gonna be everything you need from a fitness perspective, but it sure beats Netflixing on the couch. And no indictment on your Netflix time with kids, but if one of the things you're struggling with is having enough time to exercise, incorporating your children into something active will pay dividends, not just for you, but also for them.
I resonate with that too. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I may not be able to do a lot while I'm taking care of them, but I can put them in a backpack, or even just carrying my 4-year-old in my arms eventually becomes a workout.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. I'm going to put you on my shoulders and just walk around like, wow, this is getting heavy.
Absolutely. That sounds so much more fun and creative
That's exactly right. And you know, you have to, in this 1% better journey, one of the reasons that it's incremental and progressive for you in your life daily is because if there's friction between your health and fitness pursuit and being a good father, then one of them is going to have to give way at some point. And I hope it's being a good, I hope being a good father is what you pick over that. Honestly, that's what I hope. Like, I mean, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And honestly, growing up without a dad, I would have rather had an out of shape dad. But if you feel the burning in your soul that part of being a man of high integrity is to integrate this exercise piece into your life in some form or fashion, then then work at that. You know, give yourself the grace. 3 to 5 minutes, like I said, a day, or taking them along for the ride is a powerful way to do this. And I've made some wonderful memories with my boys, just being really active and enjoying that time with them, because they're never going to be this small again.
Yeah. This seems to relate to another question we received from Gary, who asked, how do you avoid making the physical results of working out and your body image into an idol?
Such a good question. This actually really resonates with another question that we received on my post, which was, he was asking about how this approach integrates with the sports injuries and the comparison trap, right? And so, you know, it's, if God is not in the center, if God's not where he's supposed to be in your life, then anything can be an idol. Like, and you know, it's Gideon and Judges, right? God has this big plan for him, has a calling for him, has this mission for him to go on. And before he can give him the vision, he says, hey, you need to go up, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but you need to go where your father's idols are, and you got to tear those suckers down. And you got to build an altar unto the Lord your God first here. And then I have something to tell you. I have a mission to call you into it. And the same thing goes for your health and fitness journey, man. If those sports wounds that I can't remember his name, I'm very sorry, but he had a lot. Glenn, he had a lot of good things to say about, you know, overcoming those and loving your inner child through those sports injuries and whatnot. But if somebody in your life, maybe a dad, made sports an idol, and then you felt the pressure to perform, or maybe you made sports an idol, and so you're, you know, whether or not you could perform well on the baseball field or soccer field was, you know, your A+ as a man, as opposed to what does God say about you? What does God call you to? What is his purpose for your life? If that's not in the center, then your health and fitness journey can easily become an idol. You can start looking at the guy in the mirror and going, man, you're coming along. Look at that guy, you know. Hey honey, do you see these guns? Like,
Yeah.
and no, yeah, I'm not indicting anybody who is enjoying some of the fruits of the labor, right? But if God's in the center, then your health and fitness pursuit will become an integrated part of you conforming your life to Christ. Your health and fitness pursuit will become a part of that, right? And you can look at the guy in the mirror and say, to whom much is given, much is expected. You have a healthy body. You're pursuing fit things. God's training you for something, man. Get ready, right? And be ready. And that's very, very, I think it's an extremely important part of this long-term thing.
I like that. The way you just said God's training you for something makes it sound like health and fitness is not an end goal. It's actually always in the service of something more important.
Absolutely.
And I would say the exact same thing for freedom from porn. Even freedom from porn can become an idol. In fact, that's part of what led to my last relapse in 2015, was feeling so complacent and feeling so proud of myself for having over a year without masturbating that I dismissed some of my previous support systems and thought, I don't need to be in a group. I don't need to keep healing. I've arrived. And that was the most dangerous place for me to be. That's when my freedom from porn became an idol. And even if that idol didn't come crashing down, God had to smash it one way or another. And he used a relapse to smash it. I'm glad in the end that it brought me back to him, and it brought me back into the arms of Jesus. I guess what I'm trying to say is health and fitness can be an idol. Freedom from porn can be an idol. We are doing this not to get really proud of ourselves, but as part of our worship of the true God who created us, who loves us, and who has better things for us to do.
That's exactly right. I mean, your health and fitness journey, I hope it improves your energy level to spend time with your kids. I hope that it improves your body's functioning to show up well. If you're married, show up well for your wife. I hope that it reflects an integrity in your life that shines at work. And I hope that, you know, in your church community, that it's also something that people are like, man, something's different about this guy. Like, what's going on in your life, man? How do I get more of that? And that's not a pride thing. That is carrying your cross forthrightly, and that's powerful.
Amen. You ready for the next question?
Yeah, bring it. Let's do it.
What can you say to men who feel intimidated by the gym or working out? Perhaps especially those who are experiencing same-sex attraction.
Yeah. Hey, fair enough, man. That's a big and important question. The first thing I'd say is you don't need a gym to start. You really don't. I've done episodes on Defining Dad about talking through. You know, I got in shape as a youth with a pair of 25-pound dumbbells I got from cleaning out an apartment at my job. Like, all right, that's all I had, man. And you do that in a pull-up bar, you've got a home gym for less than $50. Your gravity is a great trainer, is what I'm trying to say. Gravity is a wonderful apparatus for resistance.
Yeah, I don't even have those things. All I need is a piece of carpet with no toys on it.
Right? Yeah. Please remove all the Legos. You know, like, watch out for those Legos.
Yeah.
All the Legos. And then you got your 6x6 square, right? In jokes aside, though, really, when we're talking about being intimidated by an environment, then what we have to do is remove the environment issue from the equation. Where are you comfortable? Where are you comfortable? Because exercise is already an uncomfortable stress. That's the point. That's what we're doing. We're asking your body to do something difficult. So the environment shouldn't be the difficult thing. The exercise itself, I would say, if you can become confident and comfortable in a form of exercise, maybe it's running, maybe it's hiking, maybe it's swimming, maybe it's yoga, whatever it is. If you can come comfortable and confident in a form of exercise in a place that you are comfortable, then you might be able to take on the environment, the intimidating environment of the gym, because you can take something you already are comfortable with, your exercise practice, and you can enter a space that's uncomfortable, and perhaps find that, you know, there wasn't anything to be fearful of in the first place. Or maybe you walk into the gym and you go, no thanks, I'm out. Like, I'm back to my quiet road where nobody's judging and grunting, you know. And that's fine too.
It's so cool to witness you putting that 1% better daily perspective in an answer to this question. That is exactly what you talked about, treating somebody as a bio individual. What are you comfortable with? Where are you at? And then adding a little bit of challenge together with support.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I promise push-ups are just as effective in your living room floor as they are at the gym.
Yeah. And if you can't do a full push-up, you can do what I do sometimes, just push-ups from the knees. A little bit easier.
They're not girl push-ups. People call those, they're called regressed chest presses. That's what we trainers call them. This is very important.
I like that.
We have regressions and progressions. Very, very important part of progress. So let's say you have certain biomechanic movements that you should be able to perform, like pressing, right? Pressing is a movement your body should be able to perform. If you are pressing in a way, you're trying to do a full push-up, full unregressed plank, extended arm push-up, chest to ground, and perhaps you're using too much of your deltoid, that's your shoulder muscle, right? Or perhaps you have an injury that doesn't allow you to use your pectoral muscle very well. Then what we want to do is we want to regress the movement. You might start at your knees. Maybe that's not even enough. Maybe you need to go into a position where you're elevated. I have guys who start their push-ups on, you know, the edge of a couch or side of a bed, right? So that you're elevated, there's less less resistance. And what we can do is we can teach your pectoral muscle, that's the muscle that stretches from your sternum to your humerus, down right in the front of your chest here, if you're watching the video. That muscle, what's supposed to be the major mover, the primary mover in a push-up. And so regressions aren't about like, oh, I can't do a real push-up yet. It's about, I need to teach my body. I have to build the foundation to teach my body to use the right muscles during this exercise, so that when I do a full push-up, or maybe I build up to the strength where my pectoral muscle can flex during a full push-up, I'm actually getting the benefit of it rather than tearing apart my shoulder joint in the process, which is not what you want, you know, in your 40s and 50s, is a shoulder joint from too many push-ups.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm trying to relate it to recovery. And I think maybe it would apply more to maybe the way that some of us need more restrictions, or we need more safety precautions at the beginning, kind of like a crutch, or but not even necessarily a crutch, just a little bit of training wheels, so that I have some space for my devices, or I have a little bit more consequences and motivation to get those first few days of freedom under my belt, and later on I can let them go when I'm stronger.
Right. And then you can grow in that process. Yeah, exactly right. I like training wheels. That's a good analogy.
Alex, what is one question you received that you would really love to answer?
Man, we had some really good ones, and I don't want to prioritize too many over the other, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't address supplements. There was an individual who asked specifically about, hey, what do you think about supplements? I've been around the block a while. I've taken quite a few. There's some in my pantry. What do you have to say about those? And supplements is actually a very broad topic, but it's important. Anytime you start Googling, you know, goals, fat loss goals, weight loss goals, any sorts of muscle growth goals, that you're going to get inundated with a bunch of ads for, you know, take this thing and you'll look like the guy in the label, right? So the supplement industry is a difficult industry to navigate, even as a professional. It's a difficult industry to navigate. What's important to understand about supplements is their place in a robust and intelligent health and fitness program. They're a very, very small part of positive results, but there is a place for them. And the other thing that's important to understand about supplements is most of the stuff that's sold out there isn't very well studied to give you the results that it says it's going to, right? So there's three types of supplements that people generally engage in. One are outright drugs, like caffeine, not you know, anything illicit usually, but outright drugs, ergogenic aids. So caffeine is a supplement you might use to improve your workout performance, slightly improve your focus, and there's probably nothing wrong with that. So then there's the compounds that are naturally occurring in life and in your body, like vitamin D would be a good example, or magnesium. Those are naturally occurring, and supplementing with those, some of those have double-blind, placebo-controlled trials that show positive benefits. And then there's a whole other class of supplements called adaptogens, or polyphenols. This is like food and herbs in hyper-concentrated forms that might actually be beneficial, right? So I have supplements that I recommend, and I figured I'd share with you some of my resources through Defining Dad Bod, because I take a lot of, like I'll say, creatine monohydrate, great question. Let's spend 40 minutes on that supplement and deep dive it, right? But I will say, if you're a guy listening to us right now in the winter at a northern latitude, probably should be taking vitamin D, unless you have a blood panel that says you're optimal and good to go. Vitamin D is going to be vital and helpful for your male hormone, specifically testosterone. It's going to be vital for your immune system. And most of us aren't getting enough of it, even when the sun is out. And so I generally recommend that to every guy that I start working with. Within the first 4 to 8 weeks, he's taking about 5,000 IU of vitamin D daily, unless, again, he has a panel that says otherwise. And then the second that I recommend to guys listening is magnesium, specifically in the form of magnesium bisglycinate. And that will be beneficial to your testosterone, your blood pressure, your ability to relax. And also from an exercise perspective, your muscles can't relax. They can't stretch out completely if you're magnesium deficient. And so the vast majority of guys I work with end up taking both of those. And I know those aren't like, you know, freaky cool and sexy and stuff, like, but they are beneficial, very well studied, and can help most people with most goals.
Here in Santa Barbara, I feel like I get a decent amount of sun, but I might want to check on that vitamin D.
Yeah, the ranges are interesting. So you'll get flagged if you're deficient, but then there's a range of optimal, right? And probably in the peak of summer, if you spent some time at the beach and stuff, your body can make about 20,000 IU of vitamin D in 12 minutes. It's really cool. It's like boom, like poof, super, super effective. But that's that. So it only lasts so long, and so here we are in the winter. I don't know how cold it is where you are, but I'm not walking around with my shirt off. And even if I did, my UV index around here is like 1, so it doesn't matter. I'm not storing a lot of it. So, but most guys are suboptimal.
That's really helpful to know. Doug was asking, what was the magnesium name you used again?
Bisglycinate, bis glycinate, glycenate, glycinate. It's the one that's most readily absorbed, so you don't have to take a lot of it to get it into your system. And that means you also won't end up with some of the negative digestive effects. So like magnesium citrate, magnesium malate, magnesium oxide, even those are actual laxatives. So to take the amount required to get into your bloodstream and elevate your magnesium level, it generally also wrecks your stomach in the process.
Alex, what are some of those tips that you typically give to some of your clients?
What kind of client are we talking about? It's really important when I talk through programming with people, I identify them in one of 4 phases of their training life. And that is, and I don't mean any offense by any of these, this is just a trainer's brain, okay? Deconditioned, which means I have not been exercising regularly, at least 4 days a week for the past 6 months. That would be deconditioned. Deconditioned means that there's certain changes that need to happen in your body before you can take on, bigger, heavier, more intense things without injury. Okay. So deconditioned. Conditioned means I've been working out regularly 4 days a week for the past 6 months, really. And an individual generally knows if they're conditioned or deconditioned. They got a sense of that. Then there's trained. I've been working out 4 to 5 days a week for about 2 years, including weight training. That's a trained individual. And then there's another class of individual that I would call a legacy, meaning I've been doing this for a long time, man. I've done all the fads. I've run a few marathons, I've lifted weights. I've done cardio. Like this is a decades long thing for me. And the advice that I generally give to individuals is significantly different depending on your training.
Let's talk about deconditioned.
Yeah, deconditioned. Well, that you're my favorite people if you're deconditioned. You know why? Because you get amazing results super fast. You just do, as long as you don't overdo it, which is awesome. It's I have to work really, really hard to gain 2 pounds of muscle. You can do it in the next week and a half if you do it consistently. So from a deconditioned perspective, if you haven't been exercising regularly for 4 days a week for the past 6 months, you do really, really well by adding a minimal amount of cardio 2 days a week, 20 to 40 minutes each. And it doesn't have to be intense, man. I'm not talking about going hard on the elliptical and then resting for a minute and going hard. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you and I can have a great conversation. Rate of perceived exertion is what we call it on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is like, oh, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. Basically watching a movie and I'm not working out at all. And a 10 is like, I'm going to die if I keep doing this. That 20 to 30 minutes twice a week, we're aiming for a 5, right in the middle. Could be a walk, jog, could be walking up a hill. It could be swimming. It could be cycling, could be a hike. That's 2 days a week can make a significant difference. And then similarly, 2 days a week of about 20 minutes of a light resistance training program. And one individual asked, hey, do you have any resources for beginners and stuff? In Better Daily, we have a lot of those resources, but that's also a paid community. So if you're looking for free resources for a beginner who doesn't have a lot of equipment, go to a website. And I wholeheartedly endorse these people. They're amazing people. Darebees.com, DAREBEES.com. bees.com. They've got hundreds and hundreds of easy to follow workouts. They're a nonprofit organization out of Europe, a fantastic company. But they're working to democratize fitness, to give a starting point to those who are deconditioned and say, just, hey man, you can do this, you know. And some of them are fun. Like, I'm a Dragon Ball Z nerd, you know, like they've got Goku's workout in there, and I know, right? It's so good. But such a great company. But if you're deconditioned, the most important thing you can do is get started, get up, get moving, go for a walk, pick up some weights and put them over your head, do some of those knee push-ups, you know, just get started, get a feel for what you can do and what you can't do. And don't go crazy. Don't join P90X. If you are deconditioned, we've got to get you conditioned before we can do anything more ninja than that. Otherwise, your tendons and ligaments won't hold up to it. You'll get chronic injuries. You might burn way too many carbs as a fuel source and get super unenergetic and sleep hard. You know, there's a lot of different things that you need to be conditioned for.
It makes a lot of sense why so many of us might think to ourselves, I tried working out and it was horrible and it failed.
Right. Yeah, it's, you know, there's so much I could say about it. Just imagine every single cell in your body has a powerhouse called a mitochondria, and they have a lot of them. Okay. If you're deconditioned, you're working with like half of the powerhouses you should have. You're working with half of them. And so you go do a workout that your friend makes look really easy, and you're working hard. Like you're probably working harder than they are. Right? You're struggling, and your body's like, we really want to do it, but we don't have the machinery. We really want to do it, but we don't have the and so you finish that workout. If you stay with it, this is the hard part. If you stay with it, eventually your body will respond by increasing your mitochondrial density. And then you can come to your workout and you got some gas in the tank. You're like, oh, okay, I can do this thing. But that phase, man, that's 3 to 6 months long. And if you're doing something that's way out of your purview and is extremely uncomfortable, and you had to take time away from your family to do it, and it hurts every time, and you don't even like it, and some of the people there drive you crazy, you're not going to keep it up. There's just no way you're going to stick with that terrible phase. So it's so important to get started small.
50% better daily does not work.
No, it works for like 3 days, and then it doesn't stick.
Yeah. We got to do 1% better daily. And a question from Patrick is, are there any fitness trackers that you recommend?
There's so many good ones out there. I like right now I'm wearing, my wife got this for me for Christmas. Shout out my wife. She's cool. I'm wearing the Fitbit Charge 5. I've only used it for the last month. I really like it. It's a fantastic tracker. Before that, I was using the Garmin Vivo, and I loved that one too. The only problem with that one is that I'm really hard on my fitness trackers, and you can't change out the band on it. It's all integrated. So it crapped out on me in a year and a half because I beat it up and I had to either buy a new one or jump ship and switch with something that I can change the bands on. So I really like the Garmin Vivo. It's a fantastic fitness tracker. If you don't have a 2-year-old who likes to bite it when he's wrestling you, then you might actually last you a while. And the Fitbit Charge 5 I've enjoyed as well. A lot of people use their Apple Watches and stuff. I'm too hard on my fitness trackers to wear a $700 watch band, honestly. So, but those would be the two I recommend.
Awesome. For me as a runner, I just downloaded Strava, and that has been great so far.
Yes.
Even the free version of Strava has really helped me just become aware of how much am I running?
Mm-hmm.
How much am I walking? That's really helpful for me to know.
Right. And there are free apps that'll turn your phone into a pedometer too, if you don't mind carrying it around with you. So, and once upon a time, you just went to Walgreens and spent $4 on one of those little blue see-through things that ran on a watch battery. And like if you're just counting your steps, man, that'll work. That'll do it.
There are some awesome advanced tools out there, and there's some very basic free tools like Strava that can help you get started. And I think that's my whole goal with this 2-part podcast episode, that people would begin to dream a little bit about this, about yourself as a bio individual and come into 2022 with a 1% better daily approach. And if you want to get really technical and if you want to ask those tough questions, then please join Alex's community, the Better Daily app. It's a fantastic place where he is showing up on a daily basis to help you answer those questions. And check out his podcast, the Defining Dad Bod podcast. Can you talk about the upcoming mastermind?
Yeah. We have the Better Man Challenge coming up. This is a pilot mastermind in the Better Daily community. I'm really excited about it. The goal of the Better Man Challenge is to spend 8 weeks after the hustle and bustle of the first month of the year. We're going to start this in the middle of February. But the goal is to spend 8 weeks drilling into just what Drew and I are talking about. Getting started, we're going to spend 4 weeks on the physical, and then we're going to spend 4 weeks on the mental and spiritual. And the goal is by the end of those 8 weeks to have created a solid and strong foundation that allows us to continue the year moving forward in our health and fitness journey. So it's going to be powerful. We're going to start on the nutrition front. We're going to move on to the cardiovascular. Then we're going to move on to the weight training side of things. Drew, we haven't nailed down the exact date yet, but you're going to join us as we dive into sex. Yeah. Which is, in my mind as a man, the combination where the physical meets the mental and spiritual. And then we'll be going into building stronger relationships, developing a stronger relationship with God. And we're actually going to write a different story for ourselves. There's going to be a narrative portion to help us really get our story straight up until this point, and to write a different one for the next year and share that with our community. So I'm really excited about this. It's going to be powerful and good. I've poured my heart and soul into the curriculum, and I have quite a few local guys and clients I'll be taking through it. So I'm excited to open it up to those who come. There's going to be 20 spots. So when it's full, it's full. And that's the group we'll be going with.
Awesome. You can find a link to the Better Man Challenge in the show notes.
And Drew, as an honor to you and in your community, I actually made a coupon code for that challenge that gives 8 weeks for $50 off for BOA, BOA, the man himself. So if you investigate that, you decide it's something you want to get into and you're listening to us here, please drop that coupon code in. And thank you guys for being committed and moving forward in your journey to find healing in your sexuality. And I don't want to overstate that because this is your domain, Drew, but I just find such, if you didn't hear my previous interview with Drew, my story, a big part of that is that healing. And I'm just, golly, I just want to recognize and honor that courage in you, because it's not easy to pursue that, and it's not easy to even start that journey at all. So keep up the good work.
Keep it up, guys. 1% better daily. Even 1% better weekly adds up. 1% better monthly, even over the long term, can make a huge difference. So sign up for the Better Man Challenge if you want to take this 8-week journey with Alex. I will be a guest, and you can use that discount code of BOA, BOA, for $50 off. So Alex, what is your favorite thing about being 1% better daily?
It's never done, and I've never made it. And so what I get to say about that is when the good Lord decides to take me home, then I get to be done. But until then, if I'm not dead, I'm not done. And I will continue to find a way to overcome my obstacles, to show up well, and to make the most of it, man. To whom much is given, much is expected. And that resonates very deeply with me. It's very, very humbling. And I'm so excited and happy about being able to share that journey with other people and see what kind of positive things it can bring out of their life.
Amen. Thank you, Alex. Thanks, guys. And always remember, you are God's beloved son. In you, he is well pleased.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% Better today. Don't forget to subscribe for the podcast. Leave us a raving review to tell others how Better Daily has helped you in your journey. If If you want more Better Daily, download our app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live. Use code POD to get 25% off your subscription. That's POD, all caps, to save 25% on your subscription. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.live today.